Abbot St. Sabbas' story.
Subscribe to our channel to receive more content like this.
The story of Abbot St. Sabbas begins in the 5th century in a small village near Caesarea in Palestine. Born in 439, Sabbas entered the world during a time of shifting empires, religious debates, and great spiritual hunger. His childhood was far from peaceful. When he was still very young, his parents traveled abroad and left him under the care of relatives. One of his uncles treated him harshly, and the boy learned early what it meant to endure hardship quietly. Instead of growing bitter, Sabbas began to feel a pull toward a life centered on God, away from arguments, pride, and the noise of the world. When he was just 15, he made a bold and surprising decision. Rather than staying in his family home, he entered a nearby monastery. It was not an easy choice, especially for someone so young, but Sabbas felt that God was calling him to a life of peace and prayer. Over the next 10 years, he learned discipline, humility, and the rhythms of monastic life. He woke before sunrise, prayed with the brothers, worked the fields, served others, and studied scripture. It was a quiet life, but Sabbas found freedom in simplicity. Eventually, his parents and uncles urged him to leave the monastery and return home. They believed he was still too young to commit to such a life. But Sabbas answered them with remarkable conviction. "Would you have me leave God after I have placed myself in His service?" he asked. He reminded them that even soldiers who desert earthly kings are punished severely. So how could he abandon the King of Heaven? His words revealed a depth of faith far beyond his years. At 30, Sabbas felt drawn to deeper solitude. Though he respected his fellow monks, his heart longed for a quiet place where he could pray more freely. He eventually traveled into the desert near Jerusalem. There, he found a small cave on the side of a rocky mountain. It was cold in winter, hot in summer, and completely isolated. Yet for him, it became a place of peace. He lived on simple food, wove baskets from palm branches to sustain himself, prayed constantly, and learned to rely on God alone. The saintly abbot, St. Euthemius, who knew him well, called him the young sage because of his wisdom and gentleness. Even in his solitude, Sabbas did not remain alone for long. People were drawn to him, some seeking advice, others longing for a deeper spiritual life. Slowly, small groups of hermits settled around him. Sabbas, though reluctant at first, became their guide. He showed them how to pray, how to live in charity, and how to build simple dwellings for themselves. Over time, the community grew into a thriving monastery, eventually one of the largest in all of Palestine. Leadership, however, brought new challenges. A group of monks began spreading doubts about Sabbas' ability to guide them, arguing that he was too humble and gentle to enforce discipline. Not wanting to cause division, Sabbas withdrew for a time. But when the Patriarch of Jerusalem heard the complaints, he was not deceived. Recognizing Sabbas' holiness, he ordained him a priest at age 53 and appointed him the spiritual father over all the monasteries of Palestine. Yet, even then, some monks remained stubborn, and Sabbas again stepped aside temporarily to preserve peace. Despite these struggles, his influence continued to grow. At one point, Sabbas oversaw 7 monasteries and thousands of monks. But his leadership extended far beyond spiritual matters. During this period, the emperor in Constantinople supported teachings that threatened church unity. He had exiled the rightful patriarch and weakened the faith of many. Sabbas, though a humble monk, boldly wrote to the emperor, urging him to stop persecuting the church and to lift the crushing taxes that were devastating the people of Palestine. In time, the emperor died, and Justin, a devout Christian, rose to power. He restored the exiled bishops and healed many of the divisions in the church. Sabbas's courage had played a quiet but important role in this renewal. Years later, when Sabbas was 91, a remarkable age for that era, he traveled all the way to Constantinople to beg the new emperor Justinian for help. Palestine was suffering from uprisings and attacks, and the people were exhausted. Though the emperor offered him wealth for his monasteries, Sabbas refused. Instead, he requested practical solutions: a hospice for pilgrims, a secure refuge for monks during invasions, funds to complete an unfinished church, and support to protect the true faith against rising heresies. The emperor agreed to all of it. Even after such a long and demanding life, Sabbas remained humble. He returned to his first monastery and continued guiding his monks with patience. At 92, after a brief illness, he passed away peacefully in the arms of the very community he had once formed in the desert. St. Sabbas's story may seem distant from our modern world, yet his struggles are ones many of us understand. He sought peace, but was repeatedly called into leadership. He loved solitude, but was constantly surrounded by people in need. He desired a quiet life, yet God used him to strengthen an entire region. In every challenge, he responded not with frustration, but with generosity. His life reminds us that holiness is not found in escape, but in faithful service. Even when the world's demands feel overwhelming, we are invited, like St. Sabbas, to answer with patience, courage, and love.